गुड मॉर्निंग एव्हरीवन. लास्ट लेक्चरला व्हिडिओज बघितलेला आहेत. एन्व्हायरमेंटल इश्यूज, प्रॉब्लेम्स, स्कोप्स, लिव्हिंग नॉन लिव्हिंग थिंग. नेक्स्ट पार्ट आहे आता इकोसिस्टीम. पीपीटीज बघूया आधी, त्यानंतर त्याचे जे त्या रिलेटेड जे व्हिडिओज असतील ते पण पाहूया. तुम्हाला क्लिअर स्टार्ट करूया. व्हॉट इज अ इकोसिस्टीम? लास्ट पॉइंट आहे आपल्या ह्याच्यातला फर्स्ट चॅप्टर मधला. Ecosystem and community of living things that interact with each other and with physical world. Means a complex relationship between living organism, means habits, resource of given area. Organisms are typically depend on each other and their habits for survival. Okay. The plants and animals within each ecosystem interact with each other, and the non-living elements of ecosystem like climate, precipitation means rainfall, and soil. They can natural or artificial. An ecosystem can be very small, such as puddle or under a rock. It can also be big, as an ocean or desert. There are many biomass, including such as deserts, tundra, tropical rainforest. Means abiotic components कुठले? Abiotic components of ecosystem or non-living components of ecosystem, including the physical environment like soil, water, air, तुम्हाला पीपीटी मध्ये दिसते, along with the inorganic substance like CO2, O2, H2O, and other elements present in them. Yeah. The balance of ecosystem is important. All things must work together to provide a good living environment. For example, if there is not enough water, plants and animals will die and the ecosystem will not exist. Types of ecosystem: three types of ecosystem: natural ecosystem, artificial ecosystem, and man-made ecosystem. Aquatic. Types of ecosystem: natural ecosystem operate themselves under natural conditions based on habitat type. It can be further classified into three types. Subtype: first, terrestrial ecosystem. This ecosystem is related to land. Example like grassland ecosystem, forest ecosystem, desert ecosystem. Second type, aquatic ecosystem. This ecosystem is related to water. It is further subclassified into two types based on salt content. First कुठला आहे? freshwater ecosystem and river stream. Freshwater ecosystem, running water ecosystem, as example, river stream. Standing water ecosystem, example is pond, lake. Marine ecosystem, example, seas and sea shores. Second type, artificial ecosystem is man-made ecosystem. Artificial ecosystem is operated or maintained by man himself. Example, croplands and garden. Okay. Functions सोपा आहे. इकोसिस्टम मधले फक्त जे तुम्हाला दिसतंय, तुम्हाला व्हिडिओ पण दाखवेन मी. आता जे पीपीटी घेते ते व्हिडिओ पण तुम्हाला दाखवेन मी. Functions of an ecosystem. To understand clearly the nature of ecosystem, its functioning should be truly understood. The function of ecosystem is to allow flow of energy and cycling of nutrients. Okay. Three types of the ecosystem. First, primary function, secondary function, and tertiary function. Primary function. The primary function of all ecosystem is manufacture of that photosynthesis. And secondary function, the secondary function of all ecosystem is distribution energy in the form of food to all consumers. Third type, tertiary functions. All living systems died at particular stage. These dead systems are decomposed to initiate third function of ecosystem, namely cycling. हे मेन इकोसिस्टमची फंक्शनिंग आहेत. ऐकलं असेल तुम्ही, फूड चेन, फूड वेब, फूड पिरामिड, एनर्जी अँड मटेरियल फ्लो. Examples are desert, Arctic tundra, rainforest, ocean, swim, African savanna. Next, producer consumer तुम्ही ऐकलं असेल, आणि population. Producer means a living thing that can make its own food. Example, plants, trees, flowers. Okay. Means biotic component मध्ये येते हे. Three type of the organism: producer, consumer, आणि decomposer. Producer म्हणजे plants, decomposer a living thing that breaks down other living things to get nutrients and energy. Sorry, composer slide. एकच मिनिट. Composer, a living thing that gets its food from eating other living things. Example, polar bear eating a fish, a bird eating a berry, a zebra eating grass. Okay. Decomposer means a living thing that breaks down other living things to get nutrients and energy. Example, vultures eat dead animal, worms and milkweeds eat dead decaying plants. Next, population, a group of living things that live in the same place at the same time. Okay, a group of living things that live in the same place at same time. For example, penguins, बघितलं, many penguins live in the Arctic, many elephants live in the African savanna. Community means when different population live together in the same habit and interact with each other. Example, elephants, giraffe, fish, and zebras all live together in the savanna. Last lecture झालेला abiotic and biotic. Abiotic means any non-living organisms in an ecosystem. तुम्हाला दिसतंय sun, rain. Biotic means any living organism in an ecosystem like plants, animals. Next part, food chain. तुम्हाला images मध्ये दिसतो. So when it's what in an ecosystem. Example आहेत खाली. Food chain. Food chain मध्ये काय first producer, consumer. Food web मध्ये काय consist of all food chain within particular ecosystem. तुम्हाला व्हिडिओ मध्ये लक्षात लगेच येईल. Significance काय food chain and food web. Food chain and food web play a very important role in the ecosystem, energy flow and nutrient cycling takes place through them. They maintain and regulate the population size of different trophic levels and thus help in maintaining ecological balance. They have property of biomanufacturing. The non-biodegradable materials keep on passing from one trophic level to another. At each successive trophic level, the concentration keep on increasing. This process is known as biomagnification. Difference between food chain and food web. In a linear food chain of food chain means their sequence of eating and being eaten in ecosystem known as food chain. It's a linear food chain. If one species gets affected, become exist, then species in subsequent trophic level are also affected. But also food web, if one species gets affected, it does not affect the other trophic level so seriously. There are number of options available at each trophic level. Okay. The means food chain, transfer of food energy from the plants through service of organism known as food chain. When the organisms they are all decomposed by microorganisms, means for example bacteria and fungi, into nutrients that can be again be used by plants. At each and every transfer, nearly 80 to 90% of the potential energy gets lost of heat. Okay. Food chain म्हणजे काय? Always start the plant of life and ends off with the animal. फॉरेस्ट इकोसिस्टम काय आहे? आता जे फूड वेब फूड चेन त्याचे डिफरन्स आणि हे सांगितलेलं आहे त्याचा आपण व्हिडिओ बघूया म्हणजे तुमच्या लक्षात येईल. तेच मिळतं. एकदा वाचल्यावर लक्षात येईल. व्यवस्थित बघा. कारण फूड वेब आणि फूड चेन मध्ये काय डिफरन्स आहे त्यांनी व्यवस्थित सांगितलेलं व्हिडिओमध्ये. सगळ्यांना व्हिडिओ दिसतोय का? कोणी
नाही
सांग.
मॅम.
हा तेच म्हणत होते. एक मिनिट.
Hello friends, welcome to Let's Do It. Previously on Ecosystem, let's continue knowing about the ecosystem. Where do we get the energy to do different work? Yes, it is from the food that we eat. Food is a source of energy for all living organisms. And to obtain this energy, they depend on other organisms and plants. And that's how our ecosystem functions. Consider this. Grasshopper feeds or depends on the grass to obtain their food. This grasshopper is in turn eaten by the frog. The frog is eaten by the snake, and the snake is eaten by the eagle. Here, the grass is a producer. It obtains the energy from the sun to produce its own food. And all other organisms which feed on each other are the consumers. Thus, a series of organisms that eat one another, resulting in the flow of energy from one organism to the other, is called a food chain. Many such food chains exist in the ecosystem. One organism can be food for many. Let's understand this. Many worms feed on the same grass. The worms are eaten by the frogs and hen. If you carefully notice, the hen feeds on grains too. But this frog and hen are both eaten by the eagle. Here, if you see, multiple food chains are formed, and these interconnecting food chains are called food web. Few important things that we have to understand here are that sun is the driving force for all. Every food chain begins with a producer. Depending on the number of organisms involved in a food chain, the order of consumers too vary. Like, the food chain that we began with was the longest and had consumers starting from primary to secondary to tertiary and quaternary. But if you see the food chain with hen and eagle, it is the shortest with only primary and secondary consumers. In this food web, if you consider the hen, it feeds on both grain and worm. That is, it obtains energy from the food of both plant and animal source, and hence is an omnivore. Observe eagle in our example. In all the food chains, it is a predator, meaning it only feeds on other organisms. It is not a food or prey for any other organism, right? Such organisms are called apex consumers or predators. They are always at the highest point in the food chain. But what happens to these apex consumers then? They ultimately die and are decomposed by the next set of biotic component, that is, decomposers. And the components are added back to the soil. Each type of ecosystem has such food chains and food webs functioning that help in the transfer of energy. Fascinating, isn't it? The next time you eat something, remember you too are being part of some food chain. Before we go, it's time for some quiz. Are you ready? Here we go. Can you name the producers and consumers in the right order in the given food chain? Write your answers in your notebook. Here is another question coming your way. Identify the apex consumers in the given food web. State whether true or false. Humans are omnivores. Hope you could answer the questions correctly. With this, we end our session. If you liked our session, please give us a thumbs up and stay tuned.
Wait, 1 minute.
In this video, we're going to learn about environment. What are the different components of an environment? Then we will also learn what is an ecosystem and how an ecosystem is different from an environment. We'll also see different types of ecosystem. So overall, this video is going to be interesting and we'll learn a lot about environment and ecology. So let's begin with understanding what is meant by environment. Now, when we look at the term environment, it basically means the things that we have around us, the surrounding. So environment is the total of all the material. It could be both living as well as non-living materials that are around us. The moment I said material in the context of living and non-living, there you go, I just made a distinction. So there are two components. Therefore, the environment, as we know, is made up of abiotic and biotic components. Now, abiotic refers to the non-biological, non-living component of the environment, such as sunlight, temperature, wind, land, soil, mountain, water, etc. And biotic refers to the biological, living component of the environment, such as plants, human beings, animals, and microorganisms. So abiotic is the non-biological, non-living component part of the environment, and biotic is the biological, living component of the environment. Please remember this difference. So now that you know the biotic and abiotic component of the environment, another thing that you have to understand is that our environment has 3 domains. Actually, it has 4. I'll talk about the 4th one in a moment, but as of now, we'll just go with 3 domains. And these 3 domains are lithosphere, hydrosphere, and atmosphere. The lithosphere refers to rocks and minerals, which is basically the land on which we stand. It comprises of the crust and the upper mantle. Then hydrosphere is referred to the liquid water component of the earth. It includes the oceans, seas, lakes, ponds, rivers, and streams. The hydrosphere covers about 70% of the surface of the earth, and it is the home for many plants and animals. The third one is the atmosphere. You remember this picture, different layers of the atmosphere? It is a thin layer of gases that exists above our planet's surface. It acts like a shield which doesn't allow some life essential gases like oxygen to go out in the space. Likewise, it also prevents the incoming harmful rays of the sun to reach the Earth's surface. The atmosphere is an important part of what makes Earth livable. So in short, we refer these 3 domains as sea, air, and land. Now there is a 4th domain and a very important domain that forms an environment. It is called biosphere. It consists of living organisms from human beings to animals to plants to bacteria to multicellular organisms. Basically, it includes all the living components of the earth. Now the unique thing about biosphere is that it interacts with other components of natural landscapes such as land, water, and soil. They are also influenced by the atmospheric elements such as the temperature, rainfall, moisture, and sunlight. So basically what I'm trying to say is that these 4 domains uniquely interact with each other. They adjust in such a way that it makes life on Earth possible. Or in other words, the survival of any living being on the Earth depends upon the interaction of these 4 domains. So overall, these 3 domains, that is the hydrosphere, lithosphere, and atmosphere, it forms a triangle, and the entire portion of the triangle, the thing in between, is the biosphere. So in a nutshell, all these 4 domains have to interact and coordinate with each other. Now let's get to know about the ecosystem. So moments back, I've told you about the 4 domains of our environment, which is the lithosphere, the atmosphere, the hydrosphere, and the biosphere. When these 4 domains coordinate with each other, there is a diversity of life forms on Earth. So when we hear the word ecology, ecology is the study of the Earth as a household of plants, human beings, animals, and microorganisms. So basically what it means is that there is an interaction of all the organisms of a particular place. And within that interaction, there is a pattern and a relationship. Now, what are those patterns and relationship? It involves a lot of scientific studies to understand this pattern and relationship between organisms. And this is what the ecologists do. They primarily study the relationship between living organisms and their environment. It is this unique way in which these 4 components reciprocate with each other, which further makes way for different kinds of life forms. You see, there are about some 4 lakh plant species in the world, and animal species are approximately around 8.7 million. Just imagine the diversity of life forms. It is primarily because of the interaction between these 4 domains. So basically, environment is the bigger form of the system. And in the environment, there are 4 elements. And these elements, along with the interrelation, forms the ecosystem. Now, ecosystems can be both natural and man-made. So examples of natural ecosystems are desert, forest, or any aquatic place like a pond, river, or lake. And examples of man-made ecosystem can be crop fields or gardens, then aquariums, dams, and man-made ponds. The natural ecosystem is further divided into 2 types, that is aquatic ecosystem and terrestrial ecosystem. Under aquatic, we have the lake, wetland, river, oceans, and under terrestrial ecosystem, we have forest, then grassland, then deserts, etc. Let's quickly understand how the ecosystem works. So basically, life is based on energy, right? On Earth, the sun is the primary source of energy. Now, plants turn sunlight into chemical energy through a process called photosynthesis. Then, plants and trees are the energy producers. Herbivores, plant eaters, and carnivores, that is meat eaters, are energy consumers. They take in the chemical energy from sunlight through the food they eat. With that energy, they carry out all the processes of life. Now, I'll give you a quick example. When an insect eats a plant, the insect takes in some of the sun's energy. If a bird eats the insect, the energy is transferred again. When a mammal, like a wild cat, eats the bird, then the energy is further transferred one more time. This is how energy flows through an ecosystem. So basically, all organisms and ecosystems on Earth are linked to one another. They are said to be interdependent.
Biodiversity. Biodiversity is the variety of animals and plants found on this planet, including the geographic locations they are found in. The diversity of species is not evenly distributed throughout the planet because life depends on many factors, including geography. For example, tropical regions support more life than polar regions. Plants, animals, and climate work together to maintain the balance of nature. They act as nuts, bolts, and oil of a perfectly tuned machine. The pyramid of nature's balance. Biodiversity is important for sustaining life on Earth because it prevents any one species from throwing the balance of nature out of order. Snakes are not a welcome presence in our lives. So we fear them and try to get rid of them. One of the many things that snakes feed on is rats. If we were to kill all the snakes, we would end up having a terrible rat problem. Biodiversity means maintaining the balance of nature so that no one thing can become too powerful and therefore bad for everyone else.
आता आपण बघितलेलं आहे फूड चेन, फूड वेब, त्याचे पिरामिड्स आहेत, इकोसिस्टीमचे. जे पीपीटी मध्ये घेतलेलं आहे त्याचा व्हिडिओ तुम्हाला कन्सेप्ट क्लिअर साठी मी दाखवलंय. घेऊया 10 मार्काचा. हे आतापर्यंत झालेलं आहे. जे मी पीपीटी स्प्रेडशीट करून ह्याला एक्झाम वगैरे काहीच नाहीये. ते आपल्या असं प्रॅक्टिस साठी एक असू दे. आपण स्टॉप करूया. मला प्रेझेंटी द्या. रोल नंबर 1, 2, 3,
Present, ma'am.
4, 5, 6, 7.
Present, ma'am.
Okay, 6, 7, 8, 9,
Present, ma'am. 8.
10, 11,
Present, ma'am.
12,
Present, ma'am.
13, 14,
Present, ma'am. Excuse me, ma'am. Roll number 1 present.
17, 21, 22, 23,
Ma'am, 21, 20 present. Ma'am, 19 present.
22, 20,
Ma'am, 22 present.
23, 24, 24 आहे. Okay. 25, 26, 26, 27,
Present.
28, 29, okay. आहे. 30, हा. Okay. 28, 29 आहे. 30, 31,
Present, ma'am.
32, 32, 34, 33, sorry, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39, 39, 40, 41, 42, 43,
Madam 53.
Ma'am, 43.
43,
Ma'am, 45.
43 present, ma'am.
okay.
Madam
Ma'am,
53
45.
present.
45, ma'am.
तुमचं समाधान, तुमचा रोल नंबर नाही टाकला तुम्ही. नावाच्या
हा, नाही
पुढे
टाकला मॅडम.
roll टाका. हा, किती आहे
हा, हा.
तुमचं समाधान?
45.
ओके. तिथं डिव्हिजन आणि रोल नंबर टाका. 46, 47, 48, 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54.
Madam 53 present.
ओके.
5 present, ma'am.
परत एकदा मी नंतर घेणार. आता थांबा 1 मिनिट. 56, 57, 57, ओके. 58, 58, 59,
Yes,
60,
madam.
61, 60, 61,
59, madam.
okay. 60, 61, 62, 63, 64, 65,
ma'am. 62.
63, 64, 65, 66. किती आहेत? आता रोल नंबर 1 to 10 मध्ये कोण कोण आहेत सांगा. रोल नंबर 1 to 10. 1,
1 present. Present. Ma'am, 2 present. Ma'am, 4 present. Ma'am, 8 present. Madam, 6.
ओके. 2 मध्ये किती जण?
2 present, ma'am.
ओके. 1 आहे, 2 आहे, 3 आहे,
4 madam present.
4 आहे, 6 आहे, 8 आहे, 10, 11 पण आहे.
मॅम 5 प्रेझेंट.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8,
11 प्रेझेंट.
मॅम 16.
11 to 20 सांगा कोण आहेत? 11 आहेत. बाकी पुढचे
20 प्रेझेंट मॅम.
मॅम 16.
19 प्रेझेंट.
19,
16.
14. हा पुढे
16.
16 पण आहे. 21 to 30.
29.
22. हा 22 आहे, 29
मॅम
आहे.
23 प्रेझेंट.
असं राहिले चालेल. हा आहे 22 आहे, 24 आहे, 29, 28, 27 आहे.
25 मॅम.
25
30 प्रेझेंट मॅम.
30 आहे. 31 to 40.
31
to
मॅडम.
40 कोण राहिले? हा आहे 31 आहे. 31 to 40 मध्ये कोण राहिले? 41 to 50. 51 to 60 नाही आहे.
53 प्रेझेंट मॅडम.
54
59.
ओके आहे.
53 मॅडम.
हो.
54